Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Golden Bachelorette. Signs Joan Vassos and Chock Chapple won't live in NYC for long. Is this situation short-term? The Golden Bachelorette couple Joan Vassos and Chock Chapple will be moving to New York City very soon, but there are signs that they won't stay there forever. Joan, a 61-year-old private school administrator from Rockville, Maryland, and Chock, a 60-year-old insurance executive from Wichita, Kansas, fell in love and got engaged at the end of their season. During their final date, Chock gave Joan a heart-shaped keychain and presented her with the idea of moving to New York City after the show. Joan loved the idea because, like Chock, she's always dreamed of living in the Big Apple. After they went public with their relationship during the Golden Bachelorette Season 1 finale, they immediately began searching for an apartment in the city, especially in their preferred neighborhood of Soho. However, there are some signs that Joan and Chock won't live in New York City forever. Before the Golden Bachelorette began, Joan made it very clear that she'd never leave her family, which consists of her 4 adult children, her 3 grandchildren, her 92-year-old mother, and her mother-in-law, who's her late husband John's mom. Therefore, it was surprising when Joan agreed to find a love nest with Chock in New York City, where they could spend time alone together. While Maryland is closer to New York City than it is to Kansas, it's not around the corner, and Joan will have quite a commute. When she was a contestant on Jerry Turner's Golden Bachelor season, Joan left the show early when her daughter was experiencing postpartum depression. She put her family first, which was very admirable. Joan vowed that she'd continue to do that, and that she wouldn't move away from Maryland. It's shocking that Joan has now agreed to Chock's plan of moving to New York City together, while also keeping their homes in Maryland and Kansas. Joan will now possibly be spending 2/3 of her time away from her family, which was never part of her plan. This is a sign that perhaps Joan will change her mind and want to move away from New York City after she and Chock live out their dream there for a while. Living in New York City was Chock's idea, not Joan's, and she might eventually realize that it's not an ideal situation for her. Joan has said that Chock is keeping his home in Kansas because of his job and his obligations there, but his children actually live on the East Coast, which was another reason why New York City was a good choice for them. Because they're older, it's easy to imagine that commuting from Maryland to Kansas to New York and back might eventually take a toll on Joan and Chock. They might tire of traveling so much and decide that they want to settle in one place. Joan and Chock are still relatively young, but eventually they might be unwilling or unable to travel around the country so much, and they'll need a more permanent home. Because the Golden Bachelorette was Joan's season, it would be most logical if she and Chock eventually settled in her home state of Maryland. Perhaps someday when Chock retires, he'll be less inclined to want to stay in Kansas, and he'll be more willing to let go of his place there. Although Joan and Chock's plan to move to New York City is romantic and exciting, they might eventually realize that their dream to live in the city isn't as practical as they originally thought it was. From having to travel so much to maintaining several different homes to dealing with the hustle and bustle of city life, they might eventually grow tired of living there. Hopefully, no matter where Joan and Chock call home, they'll live happily ever after. Joan Vassos and Chock Chapple, the charming couple that has captivated viewers of The Golden Bachelorette, have sparked an unexpected debate among fans. Will their whirlwind romance endure the hustle and bustle of New York City? While their chemistry has been undeniable, their recent moves and candid confessions suggest their NYC chapter might be more of a short-term love affair than a long-term commitment. Here's why the signs point to Joan and Chock trading the concrete jungle for a quieter landscape sooner rather than later. 1. Joan's open nostalgia for suburbia. Joan, ever the candid and graceful star of the season, has never shied away from expressing her roots. In multiple interviews and heartfelt conversations on the show, she's waxed poetic about her life before the cameras, a life filled with book clubs, gardening, and quiet dinners with friends in her picturesque suburban hometown. Though she took the leap to embrace NYC's energy to see where her romance with Chock might lead, it's clear that she sees the city as an adventure, not a permanent home. In a recent post-show interview, Joan admitted that while she's been enjoying the cultural perks of New York, Broadway shows, iconic restaurants, and endless galleries, she's found herself missing the serenity of her old life. "There's something magical about New York," she shared, "but I miss the simplicity of waking up to birds chirping instead of honking taxis." Joan's words hint at a deeper yearning for the familiar comforts of suburbia, a stark contrast to the chaos of city living. 2. Chock's Southern Roots. Chock Chapple, with his endearing Southern drawl and laid-back demeanor, has always exuded an aura of down-home charm. Raised in a small Southern town, Chock's personality is more in tune with wide-open spaces and neighborly chats than Manhattan's fast-paced lifestyle. While he's embraced the opportunity to explore NYC alongside Joan, his love for the simpler things in life remains evident. On their hometown date during the Golden Bachelorette, Chock introduced Joan to his roots, including his favorite fishing spot and the quaint diner where he's a regular. Fans couldn't help but notice how much happier and more relaxed Chock seemed in his element. "I'll always be a small-town boy at heart," he said more than once. This steadfast connection to his past may make it challenging for Chock to fully embrace a long-term life in New York. 3. Hints of temporary plans. Another clue that Joan and Chock might be treating NYC as a temporary situation comes from their living arrangements. While many fans expected the couple to dive headfirst into the city by purchasing a brownstone or signing a long-term lease, they'd opted for a short-term rental in a luxury building. Sources close to the couple reveal that Joan and Chock signed a 6-month lease with an option to extend, a clear indication that they're testing the waters rather than planting deep roots. Additionally, the couple's social media activity suggests they've been spending weekends scouting other areas. From the Hamptons to upstate New York, and even as far as North Carolina, Joan and Chock seem to be exploring potential alternatives to city life. Their excursions have left fans wondering if they're already planning their next move. 4. The struggles of blending lifestyles. One of the challenges Joan and Chock have faced is blending their distinct lifestyles into a cohesive partnership. While they share a deep love and respect for each other, their differing habits and preferences have occasionally clashed. Joan thrives on structure and routine, often planning her days down to the minute. Chock, on the other hand, prefers a more spontaneous approach, letting the day unfold naturally. In the context of NYC, these differences have become more pronounced. Joan's meticulous nature is well suited to the city's endless options and tight schedules, but Chock's relaxed attitude has left him feeling overwhelmed by the city's nonstop energy. "It's not that I don't love New York," Chock explained in a recent Q&A with fans. "It's just a lot. Sometimes I miss being able to sit on my porch with a cup of coffee and not hear a single sound except the wind in the trees."